This is Next Steps for Seniors with your host, Wendy Jones. Each week, Wendy brings resources and information to help guide you through those next steps with elderly parents and loved ones. You can follow, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast platform. If you have questions or topic suggestions for Wendy, you can call us at 248-651-5010 or email at hello@nextstepsforseniors.com.
Welcome to Next Steps for Seniors, Conversations on Aging. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I have a guest in the studio today. Her name is Lori Pulliam, and Lori is a master coach. She's a life coach, and believe it or not, I think everybody needs a life coach at some time or another in their lives. You know, we have one life to live. We need to make the best of it, but there's a lot of things that come to us, especially as we age. And one of the things is losing the independence that we once had. So, when we're young, we can do certain things. As we get a little older, we do the same things, but maybe not quite the same. And then as we really start getting up there, we can't quite do what we used to. And when we have that loss, there's emotions that go with that. So we're blessed to have Lori in the studio with us. Thank you, Lori, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And your knowledge in general is power. But you've been through a lot, not just in your lifetime and your own personal experiences, but as a coach, talking to many people. So talk to us a little bit about this loss of independence.
Interestingly enough, as a coach, I don't really understand why this happens, but all of a sudden, I think about 8 years ago, I started to have quite a few calls from people that had aging relatives, whether it be a husband or a parent or a wife. And in these scenarios, there was a time that was coming where that particular person was going to be transitioning in their life into a more of a dependency on the people around them. And the feelings that were being produced from that were causing really hard relationship issues between, the
siblings, families,
everybody, because the change is leading to something that nobody really wants to actually talk about, which, the loss of independence is getting closer and closer to that place where you would be having that ultimate loss, which would be the death of a person. And just for a story that I had one time, I had a gentleman, his wife called me and told me that he was just really in a bad place, and he had been a very successful businessman, worked for GM, traveled the world, and actually retired early, retired at 55 years old. And after he retired, he did not have a life plan. He believed that what he was going to do is just travel and have fun and be loose and free of responsibility. And unfortunately, what happened is that an addiction to alcohol set in, an addiction to food set in, lack of purpose.
Because he lost his identity. His identity was in his position.
Was in his title. Was in what he did for a living, which actually also happens to men.
Many people.
To women, it is oftentimes our children, leaving. So whatever it was that was our purpose, when that starts to leave us, and we do not have a way to gain more purpose, it tends to cause this feeling of depression. And part of that also is losing our independence. And I think even as a person, my age, the aging process in itself, what happens to, women and men when we get older, we're not able to do the same things that we used to do. It is a kind of little reminder of the fact that time is ticking.
Right.
And I think that in itself, that time is ticking, actually
could weigh on us, right?
Could weigh on us. And it comes in the form of loss of independence a lot of times. When the parent or the person, the aging person, can't drive anymore. We don't understand that isn't just that they can't drive anymore. It is that they no longer by themselves can have the autonomy, yes, and the freedom to just
get in the car and go wherever they want to go.
Drive. That's my coping mechanism. So when we understand that there are feelings that need to be processed through, as step by step during that process, it helps the person, and not only the person that's actually aging, but the people around them be a part of the connection of what's actually happening as an experience of moving into the next chapter of our lives.
So what do we do about that? How do we look at that situation?
Well, first, stop pretending that it's not happening.
Okay, well, there's that.
Well, and that's always, I as a person that has worked in the field of recovery for years, whether it be grief recovery, trauma recovery, substance abuse recovery, one of the things that we say is what you don't look at, you can't heal. If you are very busy being so toxically
Busy
positive,
being busy.
yeah, busy being busy. If you're so busy being pretending that it isn't happening or acting like, mom, dad, this is just a great thing that's happening. Look at this beautiful place we're moving you to, and not actually stepping into the process of how hard is this for you to actually leave where you felt safe? Because if we understand that one of the most basic human needs is safety and security, and where we find that, comfortability is actually in continuity. So finding that place and now having to transition, and I can tell you this, I remember my husband and I bought our home it was just a blessing from God. It was so exciting. And we were moving out of a place that wasn't as nice as the home that we were in. And the whole time I was preparing to leave, I was crying. And my husband was like,
Why?
Why are you
Why are you
why are you crying? And I said, because the attachment that I have to the
place?
beautiful memories that we created here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the memories will come with me, but being in this place actually causes me to have an emotion, an evoking of an emotion that I don't know. It's the fear of the unknown that I will have again.
You need to listen to our podcast. It's the memories, not the stuff.
That's
Because we did have an expert talking just about this. Because home is where you are. Home is where the heart
absolutely.
is. And
Yes.
we need to hold on to those moments and those memories, but it's not all the other things around us.
One of the times that I was helping an older woman transition, and I remember her kids were amazing. They really wanted me to get involved in the process because they didn't know what to do. I sat with this beautiful woman named Dolores. She's actually passed on now. For months, I would go and be with her in the process because I was not emotionally charged the way that her children
Family.
were about it. So I would sit with her and talk to her about the different memories that she had. I actually gave her a box, and we fit all of the most precious memories that she had in this box. And that was her prized possession to come to the next place. And she was able to detach from the actual physical space that she was in because she started to realize that she wasn't losing anything. She was transitioning into something else. And I also didn't rush her through her sadness.
It's a process.
It is
and
a
we
process.
need to trust the process.
If you
And
don't,
everybody's different.
well, and if you don't acknowledge that there's something that is ending, then you will not embrace what is coming to you in a way that is healthy. And that's just, it's if you don't let go of the one hand to grab on to the next, then you will end up falling. And
this is where depression, anxiety, and all
absolutely.
these emotions.
And to be clear, one of the things that happens to people, that you can be in a room full of people and be lonely because you actually haven't grieved properly.
Okay, you need to say that one more time.
You can be in a room full of people and be lonely because you have not grieved properly. And when I say grieved, it's letting go. It's isolating to not grieve. And when you grieve in isolation, when you actually start to go through the process and do not include another person where they can see you, then they can say, I understand what you're going through. When you try to do it by yourself, it's isolating, which is why, number one, we do it with the Lord. And number two, we do it with other people. Grief is meant to be connected.
That's fascinating you say that because a lot of times you're watching, maybe a wife who lost her husband or vice versa, and then the children are not part of that process. But it's almost like it's the whole family lost somebody.
Absolutely.
But everybody's worried about the mom or the dad.
Interestingly enough, if you look at other cultures, the way that they grieve, or even our culture path in the past, grieving was a process that took sometimes months. Women would wear black for a year after their husband died to signify that they were still in the grieving process. There was compassion that was given to them because that it was acknowledged and revered as something so honorable. And I think that in the busyness of our life and the culture that we live in, we want to rush people through processes that actually take time. And I'm going to be honest with you. I just had a grandbaby. She was born a week
I know.
ago.
Congratulations.
I was trying to understand, why was there sadness in me as well. And one of the things that I was watching my daughter hold her daughter, and I was like, what am I grieving right now? Because I could feel the sadness coming. And it was that there would no longer just be a connection with me and my daughter, that there was now, she had that same connection. And it was like letting go of something for her to grab onto something else. And that transition in itself, that I allowed to happen in that way, produced a greater measure of joy than I could ever get.
But what I love is you looked at that situation and you knew something was different and you were able to assess, obviously, because of all the knowledge you have. But thank goodness. But so many people go through that and they're like, why am I feeling this way? So this is why we need Lori. And give us your website because I think it's important.
My email is Coach Lori Terry at gmail.com.
And you can reach out to Lori if you would like to talk with her, schedule time. Obviously, it's private pay, but would be very well worth it because of her knowledge base going through these emotions. We all do it. And to do it with someone who's been through it and who understands the coping mechanisms, you can come against anxiety and depression and codependent behavior and all these other things that the enemy would like you to feel. So this is why we need to look to God for our answers. And, back to really quick before we close, back to the story about the gentleman you told us about that retired and, this loss that we feel of independence. What would be the, advice you would give to our listeners in closing?
To share that with somebody, to share the fact that you feel like you are no longer as useful or as capable or as purposed as you once were, and be able to work with somebody to be able to help you find what it is in this chapter, because God doesn't waste a second of your life, and it's still important even after you think that you have. And I was able to help him find a way to find purpose in what he was doing in his everyday life, which changed everything for him.
Amen. Amen. So let us not forget, when you have breath, you have life, and everybody on this entire planet has a purpose, and God put you here for a reason. So I just encourage you, grab a hold of that. And if you don't know what it is, do some soul searching, because he's right there whispering it into your ear and you just got to listen. You're listening to Next Steps for Seniors, Conversations on Aging. Hi, I'm Wendy Jones, host of Next Steps for Seniors, Conversations on Aging podcast. Did you know that over 25 million Americans experience bladder leaks? Incontinence can happen to anyone at any time, and when it does, incontinence products are a necessity. But it can cost hundreds of dollars per month to purchase these products, which is why we're partnering with Airflow Urology to help you. Airflow Urology provides medical-grade incontinence care essentials like adult briefs, male guards, catheters, and more for free through your insurance. With Airflow, your favorite bladder control supplies are sent right to your doorstep with discreet monthly deliveries. Customers have reported close to $200 a month in savings with Airflow Urology, and over 2 million people have trusted Airflow. You can verify your insurance benefits by going on and filling out a quick 2-minute form. Check your eligibility. Visit airflowurology.com. That's AEROFLOW urology.com.